Yo, I have a pretty based list for you today that somehow ended up going technically undefeated, kinda. The record was 3-1, but my one loss was us going to time, and we were like, alright, well, instead of a draw, let's just fucking roll for it. And I lost the die roll, so whatever. Here's the list. Alright, 3 copies of Ariana, 1 copy of Ariane. This is here to get easier access to rank 4s, and there's a decent amount of traps that you just don't mind sending to the grave, like Rollback and Blackgoat in this list. Then 2 copies of Lady and 1 Lovely, 3 copies of Arius, and then I am maxed out on all of the furniture. Then here's the field spell, and then I'm on 3 each of Big Welcome and Regular Welcome. And what you're here to see, 3 copies of the Egyptian God card, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and 3 of the Revived Sky God. So, the reason this is in the deck is because you set a bunch of cards, you use your furniture to clear your hand even more, you get your grave effects in the grave, and then you set more cards and your hand is empty. So, when you use the Revived Sky God, you draw 6. Plus, Slifer can be kinda just annoying for some decks, because he just kills everything with less than 2000 attack that's summoned in attack position. So like, normal summon Snake Eye Ash dies, or normal Low dies immediately. And the cards that you're usually drawing off of the Revived Sky God are likely going to be cards with grave effects and more furniture, so you're going to be getting more and more interaction off of this and more follow-up, and it plays better into back row blowouts. Like, there's a lot of genuinely good things about these cards being in the deck. Keep in mind that both players will need to at least draw 1 for you to be able to activate this, so the way you can kind of force that to happen is by popping a card out of their hand with Lovely, which is just something you kind of want to do anyway. The Revived Sky God also has a second effect, where if Slifer is in your grave, you can search for Monster Reborn, so I am playing 1 copy of that as well. Mostly for fun. For the hand traps in the deck, I'm on 3 Nib, and then I'm playing the Impulse Fire Attacker package. Initially, I wasn't playing Nib, I was going back and forth between like the goofy lab cards nobody plays, like Labrynth the Archfiend and Fair Welcome, or just like random traps like Ghastly Glitch and Fiend Griefing, but this card actually was carrying me pretty hard. It was really good. And the Impulse Fire Attacker thing, I absolutely love. I've been playing these cards in Branded even. Like, Phantasme is easily my favorite hand trap design-wise, and this is basically Phantasme for any decks and not just decks that link summon. But you do have to run a brick. A brick you hopefully won't see because the deck is 60 cards. I did draw it a few times, I can't lie. Not that big of a deal, you just discard it with something. What Fire Attacker does, by the way, just in case you didn't know, if your opponent adds a card except by drawing it, even from like their grave, you can draw 2 and discard 1. So it's just letting you dig deeper and get some of the cards you want to discard out of your hand. Speaking of, here are some of the cards that you want to discard. 3 copies of Backcheck, the Shufflers, 3 copies of Transaction Rollback, and then 2 copies of the Blackgoat Laughs. It is also good to discard Slifer because he has to be in your grave to use the Revived Sky God, but yeah, these cards were all great, especially Rollback. This deck ends up with a lot of shit in the graveyard typically, and this card becomes disgusting. And the reason so much shit ends up in your grave is because I'm on 3 copies of Needlebug Nest. This card was really good. There were some times where it would mill like literally nothing and you'd be like, oh, okay. But there was a mill that was Backjack, Rollback, Slifer, Sky God, and I go plus infinity. Even just milling furniture and Arius with this card can be really strong. Then the absolute MVP of the deck was Daruma, as I'm sure it is in almost every Labrynth list. And finally, the last 4 cards on the deck is an Ice Dragon's Prison, Terrors of the Afterroot, Terrors of the Overroot, and Peaceful Burial. The 2 worth talking about are these. So, Terrors of the Afterroot is a weird card. It's basically just putting a monster on their field into their grave, but it does it in a wacky way where it might not put that specific monster in their grave, and it can also be an out to Dragoon, and it also doesn't trigger Flamberge. Because it's initially a non-targeting banish, you can out cards like Skull Guardian as well. And it has a grave effect to set Tears of the Overroot from your deck by shuffling Kuklok back into the deck. So it has just a little bit more synergy with this list. And Peaceful Burial is here to have a guaranteed way to access Slifer the Sky Dragon. Dragon. This is basically just a trap card Foolish Burial, but you can't activate the effects of the thing you send at the turn that you send it, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Slifer will lose his attack reduction effect, but he will also lose the effect to blow himself up in the end phase because he was special summoned. This card is a core piece of actually consistently setting up the Revive Sky God. You go like Lady set Sky God on your turn, and then Lady set this on their turn, and Kuklok to make it live, and boom, draw 6. And that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Link Karibo, Anima, Phoenix, Muckraker, Dark, Hida, Unicorn, and then I'm playing some goofy stuff in here. Promethean Princess, and Ambler Whale. If you start with Fire Attacker on your field against a fire deck, you can go like Hida take, make Princess, reborn the Fire Attacker, and you just have like Princess as disruption on a follow-up turn. It did not come up. Boral End is something I've actually just added. It was Underworld Goddess before, and I never summoned that. The only reason that was in there is because she's a fiend, so I was like, oh, it'll maybe come up, I don't know. But I genuinely think this would have been better. There were several times it came up that I have infinite cards, I can make infinite link materials, but my opponent has 5 monsters set by Daruma, and there's like 3 minutes left to clear the board and win the game. And I can either not get damage in at all, or the damage I can get in doesn't offset the life that I paid for transaction rollback. This card would also just be really funny to see summoned in Slifer Labrynth. Next up is a copy of Chaos Angel, the card that is probably going to be summoned the most in this deck. I'm playing Dugaries. He's a fiend, my deck wants to discard. Ariane gets to him straight away. The only awkward thing is like Ariana and Ariane are hopefully drawing 2 anyway, and you don't have to skip your draw phase, but I guess this serves as more of a guaranteed way of having that discard outlet. You could also just use the double attack effect on Slifer and attack for like 12,000 damage, which is funny. Something I wanted to do but couldn't make happen. Baguska didn't come up. Buzz King, this did actually get summoned twice. What would happen is my opponent would imperm Lovely while they have a bunch of set cards off Daruma, and I would need removal, so I'd just summon this and I can pop a card and hopefully be able to get some damage in. And the last card is Typhon, who was really good, as he seems to be in every trap deck. Here is the side deck. The only cards that came up were Phantasme and the Bestials. The Bestials were insane in the Voiceless Voice matchup. And then Boo Boo Game is just something you can set off Lady if they go like Duster, your back row, you chain any trap, you set this, and then this will get blown up and it sets 2 traps that are live that turn, so it kind of just resets your field. And then this is D-Barrier, and then Lava Golems evenly is in whatever. And that's the deck. It is a lot of fun, and it can win games. That's like the golden combo. There's not much else to say. So thanks for watching.